Welcome to football's Play to Win with Falcons All-Pro defensive end Chuck Smith, Falcons All-Pro offensive tackle Bob Whitfield, Falcons All-Pro wide receiver Terrence Mathis, and your host, Nikki Williams.
Welcome back to another week of football's Play to Win. We've got our panel of experts here to break down some of what's going on around the league. Chuck Smith, Bob Whitfield, and Jesse the Hammer Tuggle joins us today to just talk real candidly about what is happening. We always like to start the show off with the surprises, the things that have surprised you up until this point. Chuck, I'll start with you here. Is there anything that has really got your eyebrows raised?
I'll tell you what has really surprised me, the efficiency of the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. Russell Wilson right now is incredible. I mean, I knew they would be a good team, but I didn't know they would be this good. And I know Russ is a beast, but I didn't know he would come out and play this well. And looking at the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, I mean, phenomenal. He's throwing touchdowns. He's leading his team. He's having fun. These two teams look like absolute teams that can win the Super Bowl. So I knew they'd be good. But my biggest surprise, Nikki, guys, is that these teams look like Super Bowl winners. And I believe those two teams definitely can play or impossibly beat the Kansas City Chiefs if it came to that.
Jesse, biggest surprises up until this point?
The biggest surprises to me right now is that the NFL is not playing around with this COVID virus and the masks. It surprised me that they actually went out and fined over $1 million to a lot of the head coaches who don't want a mask. And they also is being very cautious with the players as far as monitoring them and also making sure that, hey, you can't go out and do no parties and no bars, because if you bring something back, not only you can get fined, and now they're talking about not only just fine, but maybe draft picks and forfeited games. So they're dead serious about the COVID-19 virus. And I think that was big, and it showed that how much effort and time they put back into the league. Now, as far as the football play, right now, I think the defense is behind the offense. And that because there's no training camp and no preseason games and 7-on-7 and all that. And you can't simulate live tacklings. The tackling been terrible with a lot of teams so far in week 3 and week 4. So let's try to get that better.
Bob?
Wow, Jesse.
I agree.
I don't know, because I'm just thinking about all the teams that I thought were going to be great. Falcons included in that. You know, you got a lot of for teams, and then you got some surprises out there in Cleveland beating Dallas. And, you know, Dak Prescott wanting a new contract and then making them wait for the money. Then you come out and start the season the way you did at Dallas. I think the COVID-19 has put a spell over a lot of people. And what it did was make those that was able to prepare and be precise, they look very precise. And those that kind of just need the training camp, need the preseason games, need all that additional work to build their skill, those guys do look like rookies. They do look like college players. So you see a lot of mixed skill sets out there, some good, some bad. And I think some veteran quarterbacks are handling their own. And the football play, as I can say, is down a lot to me, the quality of the game, just because of missing preseason.
Chuck, where are you right now?
Oh, I'm in Canton, Ohio.
Ohio? Okay.
Yeah.
You're not in your kitchen?
No, I know, right? Posted up. Nah, I'm still in Ohio. I'll be home next week at NFL Alumni Academy, just preparing free agents, ready, free agent players to go right in. Like Jesse talked about with the COVID, with just injuries. So now the NFL has a place where, you got free agents that are here training. I'm one of the D-line coaches, and they get ready, they get the call, and teams have guys that are ready instantly. So we're in a bubble also up here, at the NFL Hall of Fame facilities.
Well, I don't know if you've gotten any insight to this, but I'd love to hear your opinion on what's going on with the Texans. Bill O'Brien obviously out. Romeo Crennel in as the interim. It's not his first rodeo. He's been in this position before. He took over for Todd Haley in Kansas City before being given that head coaching job in 2012. How much trouble do you think the Texans are in, or are they not in trouble at all? Was this the right move? Bob, I'll start with you.
Well, the Texans are definitely got to do some hiring out there. And since you fired your coach so early, who's the general manager, what do you hire first? Who do you hire first? So probably gonna get you a search team so you can find you a GM that can come in and start building not only building the future rosters but building that future coaching staff. And I think for the Bill O'Brien, he's not going to be the only Belichick disciple to catch a pink slip, or is it yellow slips they give him. I think Matt Patricia in Detroit got to look out for his job right there too. So I think what's going to come down is those coaches in the league that basically have a stand like, oh, this guy dictates this to that team, and then the team doesn't perform well. Dan Quinn is a defensive coach. Falcons defense is not performing well, and that puts coaches on the hot seat. So I think what you had in Houston, head coach, GM was the same person. You trade away your best receiver, and you don't win games. You got to go.
Chuck, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think the Texans, O'Brien, I think it starts with personnel. Made some trades that, and some decisions, getting rid of Clowney, getting rid of what's the great receiver's name, y'all?
Hopkins.
Jesse for Hopkins, getting rid of Hopkins. I just think when you look at some of the personnel and just look at the record, that when you start out 0-4 with the expectations being high, the Houston Texans struggle. Jesse, your son, he played with the Texans. Was O'Brien there back then?
O'Brien was there back then. O'Brien came in 2014. And O'Brien have a personality that's hard to get along with, and he want to make all the decisions. Yeah. He's a hothead with a temper. And when you lose players like Clowney, you can sign him back. He's the first overall pick a few years ago. You lose your best receivers in Hopkins, and you just gave your quarterback almost $200 million with Watson. I mean, what does he have to work with? So, yes, if you ask me, if the Texans are in trouble, yes. Can Romeo bring these guys together and finish the season off? He's going to have to. I mean, he's a veteran coach. He knows what to do. But at the same time, he does not have much to work with. If I was them right now, and with O'Brien going, he likes certain type of players. Forget about certain types of players. Bring in best players. The best player out there right now that can help Watson immediately is Antonio Brown. He's out there. Why don't you go ahead and bring this guy in so you get a young quarterback, a veteran receiver to throw to, and you have nothing to lose. You 0-4. And you don't have to worry about personality. O'Brien is gone. So Romeo can really coach now and go out there and make this team and turn this program around.
When we look at possible replacements for O'Brien, Eric Bieniemy in the conversation, Dabo Swinney even in the conversation, which would make that interesting for Deshaun Watson. What do you guys think about either of those? Bob?
Well, I think all those are interesting prospects, and I think Eric Bieniemy is going to be one of the top offensive coordinators out there that's going to be looked at. And we know that the NFL does this Rooney Rule to give African-American coaches opportunities in interviews, but I think you got to look at the real opportunities that Eric Bieniemy brings. He brings the knowledge of Andy Reid and offensive skill set and game planning and management, and I think he's been in a structured system, winning championships under there, that he has value to other franchises in the league. But I think you're going to see a big push of college guys. Just like Matt Rule went to Carolina from Baylor, you're going to see the Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma. Oklahoma's doing bad. Maybe he's going to start looking into those pro deals and looking at pro contracts. So I think you're going to see a couple of those young college coaches maybe break breaks from those programs and look at some of these NFL jobs.
Chuck?
Nikki, I'm really interested to see how it plays out, because you got a guy like Todd Bowles who's doing a great job. He's a former NFL coach down at Tampa. I'd like to see Todd Bowles get back out there. He struggled with his opportunity in Arizona. Things didn't work out. But, you see a lot of also former coaches get second chances. And to me, the Rooney Rule, Bob, absolutely the Rooney Rule is a sham in the NFL. Minority coaches aren't getting hired. Black coaches are treated differently. I've seen it. I have been there. So to me, I want to see them really interview the best coaches. And if they interview the best coaches, there will be a mixture of African Americans. There'll be a mixture of Caucasian Americans. There's going to be a mixture of everything. So I want them to do it right. But I don't want them just going back to college, because college coaches are benefiting a lot from just being able to have wide open offenses. So to me, the college coaches are benefiting from somewhat of a scheme, and the offensive coaches are coming to the NFL. I want to see guys like Todd Bowles who are established, who deserve another shot. Because if you look at the NFL, it's a recycle of coaches. I like to see Todd Bowles get that same benefit and get an opportunity to be a head coach again.
Jesse, I know you've got an interesting perspective on these potential replacements here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Coach, I mean, Chucky, I totally agree with you. You know, I really do agree with you, right? And because when you look at the rule of bringing minority coaches in, it's just a sham, to be honest with you. But you got to look at the best talent out there. And I think the best talent out there right now got to be Eric Bieniemy. He have been overlooked so many times and so for so many years, but he runs the number one offense with the Kansas City Chiefs, and everyone knows that he's NFL ready to be a head coach. So this got to be the year. Now, am I pulling for Houston to go out there and grab him? No, not if the Falcons can get him, because he's gonna be a hot commodity. Because right now, I would love to see him in Atlanta. You know, with the wide receivers that we have here and the young talent, and take this offense to another level. But at the same time, when you're looking at other possibilities from college coaches, no, Dabo is a favorite of mine. I love him. You know, he's doing a great job at Clemson. You know, from the way he came into that program to where he have that program at right now. But I think he earned the right if he want to come to the NFL. What I don't like, Chucky, is when you're an office coordinator at a college level or on a NFL team and you've never been a head coach before, and just because you're young and you're white or you had some success, that you get the upper hand as far as the interviews are concerned. And that part bothers me a lot. So it should goes to the one who have the credentials and the potential to turn the program around.
Absolutely. And that would be so interesting to see Deshaun Watson, though, reunited with Dabo in the NFL. I would just chomp at the bit to see that. But I completely agree with you. And I know you guys were talking about the Falcons and how the Falcons need to definitely make some moves. Obviously, in a lot of trouble right now, 0-4 following Monday's loss to Green Bay. It's fair to just wonder, has Arthur Blank lost his patience with Dan Quinn? What do you guys think about everybody calling for Dan's head? Chuck, you've always got such a such a hard line on this one.
Well, I think the record speaks for itself. I think the message has gotten stale. I think the results speak for itself. I've been on teams with this kind of talent when I was an Atlanta Falcon, and you become numb. Eventually, the guys' personalities come out. Certain guys need different style of coaching. So to me, this style isn't working. So maybe it's time for a transition. But here's my thing is this, and this is what I don't want people to forget. This team has 5 first-rounders on the offensive line. They got 2 receivers, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, that are first-rounders. The quarterback, so that's 8 first-rounders right now. On defense, you got Tack McKinley. You got guys, Dante Fowler. You had guys you've traded, Deion Jones. You got first-rounders now. This team, as told to us in Atlanta, was to be Super Bowl contender ready. There are people around the country this year had the Falcons being a surprise. So to say this team isn't one of the biggest disappointments speaks volumes. And when you look at the last couple years, there's no question. Anyone that's watched his team knows that there are questions if Dan Quinn is the right coach for this organization. Only Arthur Blank knows. But I think the fan base and the former players and everyone else's opinions speak kind of like what I say. It's time for a change.
Well,
Is it time for him to go, Bob?
He hit it right, because I think Arthur is definitely influenced by his consumer base, his customers. When he bought the team, he came in with that Home Depot mentality that he was going to provide things to that fan base, the great customer service. So when I played under Arthur's leadership, we did have a bad stretch with Dan Reeves, who was fired in November after a great career in Atlanta and a great career in the NFL as a head coach, took Atlanta to the first Super Bowl. But not winning means, hey, that don't keep your job. But it's one of those things is that Arthur during that year was apologizing to fans, taking out full-page articles, saying how sorry he was that the team is disappointing and all that. And it was one of those things is that he is so moved with the relationship with the fans and putting that quality product out there for them. And that Dan Quinn was his first coach under his watch, because he had a lot of coaches under that watch was supposed to deliver Arthur a Super Bowl. Dan Quinn was the first one. So I know he has to have some allegiance to Quinn, because you had other people that were supposed to be great coaches leave and steal. You know, you had the coach leave to go to Arkansas. He was just stealing. So it's like, if anyone deserves a good a Super Bowl, a good coach to take him there, it's dang Arthur Blank. But Arthur Blank now is going to have to make that tough decision. Is Dan Quinn the guy that can get you back there?
Jesse, is Dan Quinn the guy that's going to get him back there? What do you think?
I tell you what, Chuck, and you and Bob are correct. There's no doubt about it. When you look at on the offense, there's too many first rounds on the offensive line. There's too much talent at wide receiver, and then you have a $135 million quarterback with a veteran quarterback who's been an MVP, but yet you can't win games. The expectations for the 2020 season was extremely high. A month later, we're a quarter into the season, we're 0-4. Dan Quinn has been preaching, okay, he wants the second quarter to be better than the first quarter. You have no choice. It got to be better. No choice. Because right now you 0-4, something got to happen. When I look at defense, I'm totally disappointed, particularly with the way the linebacker play is not aggressive, it's not physical. Obviously, you want guys who run 4-4, run 4-3, run 4-5. Can they tackle? Can they read plays? Can they be a football player? That's what you really want, because it's not a track meet out here. It's not a track meet. So I know, Foyer and Deion Jones got to pick it up. And I mostly talk about the backers because you're the captain of the defense. But are you the true captain? And Grady Jarrett, he's out there, and sometimes when you watch his play, is your defensive tackle your best player on your entire defense? And if it is so, it shouldn't be. You got to have great corners. You got to have great safety play. You got to have great outside line play, and particularly outside rushers. You got to get to the quarterback. So to me, there's so much work need to be done, on that defense. And when you take a guy like Dan Quinn, who definitely is a defensive coordinator-oriented head coach, he knows it. I mean, he's understanding, and he's been hit with a lot of injuries. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of injuries in certain positions, particularly in the secondary. But we're ranked 32nd in the league. That's dead last, and that's a problem. So Mr. Blank knows right now that something has to be done. And we're not here. We don't have the power to say fire someone and bring this guy in. We just need somebody who's going to make this team better, not only for the city, but for Mr. Blank as well.
And speaking of a team that has made a lot of changes and is looking down the road, and some people are saying when it comes to Tampa, they're just getting started. What do you guys think about Tampa Bay with Brady now that we've seen a little bit of what they've got under the hood? Do you guys think that they are to be taken seriously right now? Chuck, you've got a smirk, so I'll just start with you.
Yeah, I like it, Nikki, because I know the difference what a quarterback can do. I mean, you get a quarterback from one year to the other, particularly who's a winner, and they already got a solid defense. The Tampa's defense was solid last year. You bring in Tom Brady. Hey, listen, this team is playing with confidence. They're 3-1. They're able to run the ball with Barber. They got good receivers. Man, again, I remember in my career, we went from a different quarterback, a different philosophy as a coach. I mean, Tampa's in prime position to compete for a championship. I mean, I don't see any reason why they couldn't.
Oh, yeah. And you spoke it up with prime position there, Chuck. And who else is in prime position now that Brady landed in Tampa is Byron Leftwich. People remember Byron Leftwich from Jacksonville. I played down in Jacksonville with Byron Leftwich. Solid quarterback. He was probably the slowest black quarterback that was ever in the league, but he was a solid quarterback, big arm guy. But one of the things was that he knows offense. He knows how to read defenses. So now he gets to move his stature up in the league as an offensive coordinator down in Tampa with Tom Brady, with Tom Brady's excellence, getting to call plays with Bruce Arians. So now Byron Leftwich is on the short list for a head coaching job. Thank you, Tom Brady, TB12.
Are you as optimistic as they are, Jesse?
I like it. Well, the record speaks for itself. The Falcons are 0-4. Tampa Bay is 3-1. They got Tom Brady. Yeah, Mike Evans has always been a superstar right there with the Buccaneers. He's a great player. The defense is playing great. I think they're in the top 10 right now, as far as total defense. So things seem to be clicking. but it's still the first quarter. It's still the first quarter. Okay, so is Tom Brady going to come in here and dominate the NFC South? You know, I would hope not, but as of right now, that's what it seems like. But it'll be interesting to see how the Falcons face them, and it's real early. I'm not going to give up on my Dirty Birds, but right now, Tom Brady is making all the difference in the world for Tampa Bay.
There are some other teams out there that are having some great luck this season. Obviously, a lot of undefeated teams. Kansas City 4-0, Buffalo 4-0, Green Bay 4-0, Seattle 4-0, Tennessee 3-0, Pittsburgh 3-0. How are the cards gonna fall on this? How's the cookie gonna crumble? Like, who's peeling away next? Who's gonna continue to play at this high of a level as we go on? Chuck, I'll start with you.
Woo, let me just start out, and I'm gonna just tell you my team that I like this year is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their defense are some absolute goons. Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, Devin Bush Jr., Fitzpatrick, Bud Dupree, T.J. Watt. This defense is so incredible. I mean, this Pittsburgh team is, to me, they're the most physical team in the league. I know a lot of people like, I like Buffalo too, but I'm just going to give Pittsburgh some love. Nikki, they got some straight goons in Pittsburgh. This defense alone, with Connor running the ball and J.J. Smith-Schuster at wide receiver, don't be surprised if they bludgeon their way to a Super Bowl opportunity, y'all. I'm telling you, watch out.
Oh, bludgeon, huh? They coming in with billy clubs and all that. That's what they doing. Listen, I tell you what, you did mention Buffalo, and what I like about Buffalo, I saw that big quarterback Allen. He is a tough guy. He is not scared to put his nose down and take that ball and get some yardage if he needs to. And I'm not talking about quarterback sneak. He runs that read option stuff and he takes it. He's not sliding on his butt. He is going shoulders forward. And he has a very nice ball he throws up in the air. So I like Buffalo, and they're dominating in what is probably a weak division of the AFC. And then my other team I like, of course, I'm going to take the good ones. KC, they solid. Green Bay, of course, they're solid. And we love Russell. We always love Russell down in Seattle because he's solid.
Well, Jesse, I'll ask you this.
Good choice.
I'm gonna ask you if you think any of these teams have snuck into the VIP room and are about to get kicked out. I mean, who's about to get kicked out of the undefeated club?
I like Buffalo. Hey. They surprised everybody. They may get kicked out. I think Buffalo may get kicked out. Pittsburgh is strong. I'm looking at Seattle. Seattle's proven. One thing I would say about Seattle, Russell Wilson is playing his very best right now. He is unbelievably playing better than any quarterback in the league right now. But their defense is probably at the bottom of the league right now. And to me, that makes a big difference, because you want to continue to win, you better have a great defense. So when I look at who may fall and who may tumble, I like Kansas City because they're the world champions. They're still young. The talent's there. And speed. The speed is there.
What about
it's going to be interesting.
What about the Colts?
The Colts are strong too.
What about the Colts? What do you think? What about the Colts, Jesse? They're surprised.
They fire too. I mean, Chuck, right now, this will make the second quarter so important. The first quarter is done. The first 4 games are done. Let's go with the second quarter, and I guarantee you, those teams right now who's 4-0 in the first quarter would love to be nothing. If they go 2-2 in the second quarter, it's cool, because you really win this thing in the third and the fourth quarter, in the last 8 games of the season.
Preach.
Well, the NFC East is real bad. And I mean real bad. They're even worse than last season. The Cowboys, they can't catch a nosebleed. The Giants can't reach the end zone. The Eagles barely have a recognizable O-lineman or wide receiver. And Washington, I mean, half the time we can't even get their name right. So their combined record's 3-12-1. My question to you, and Bob, I'll start with you here, is there any optimism left in the NFC East?
Well, there got to be a lot of optimism, because you can win that division with a losing record the way it's going. So you don't have to be a 10-6, 11-5 team to win the division. You can be a 7-9 team and win that division. And what happens is, when you're sucking in this first quarter, I think the leader of the division is 1-2-1 Philadelphia Eagles. and that's not where you want to be, but you're in top of the division. All you're looking at is saying, hey, win the games you need to win. And in this style of football, when you know that the playoffs is where you really got to show and prove. So if you get to win the division, even at 7-9 and get in the playoffs, you just go on a run there. And I think the NFC East has to look at their their outlook that's saying, hey, just win the division and see what happens in the playoffs.
There's power in sucking together.
The NFC East, Nikki, the NFC East is terrible, obviously terrible. But the biggest surprise of all is the Cowboys. No one expected. I didn't expect it. Jerry Jones for sure did not expect it. But these guys only have one win. And when you look at the other teams, when you look at the Eagles and Washington and the Giants, I mean, they're not going to be contenders this year. But the Cowboys are expected to be contenders. And now Jerry is absolutely upset. But you have Dak is probably leading the NFL right now as far as passing yardage. Yeah, I think he's having a great year. Elliott is playing great, but for some reason they just cannot stop people and win football games, and that's what it's going to take. I mean, it's going to take the East. If I had to pick any team to come from this trap, this bottom list around the league, it got to be the Cowboys. There are other three. We'll worry about them in 2021 because they're done. Particularly Washington, and they just changed their quarterback. So it's just interesting to see what's going to happen. But I think the Cowboys will be the team that step up in the NFC East.
Or they better. Chuck?
You know what? I think the disappointing part is whoever wins this division is going to get a home game in the playoffs. That's the crazy part. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of whack. But when you look at how this thing is shaping up, the Eagles play good defense. You know, Washington, I don't think they're going to do much. Dallas, to me, is a team that, wow, you look at them, they should be 0-4, but they also could end up being really 4-0. I mean, when you look at some of the challenges they've had, but the guys, y'all said all I need, everything. I don't need to say nothing else. You know, it's the bottom feeder right now, but somebody's going to benefit in that division with a playoff game, even though they shouldn't. If you got a losing record, you should never host a playoff game. Just my opinion.
Sounds like there might be a rule change in your future there, Chuck. You always like to get on the boards for things. I have to give Chuck credit. If he complains about something, don't be surprised if a week or two later he's found himself on a committee that's like part of a rule change. Well, it's better than sitting back and complaining. You are Action Jackson when it comes to something you don't like. So switch it, change it, rearrange it. Last week we were talking about rookie quarterbacks and our our opinions on each of them and whether or not they were going to survive in the NFL. And Joe Burrow, looking mighty veteran out there, first NFL victory over the Jaguars. He's looking great. Is it too early to start assuming that we are witnessing what might wind up being a next great in the NFL? Chuck, I'll start with you.
Well, I don't know if he's to be a next great, but I can say he's the next good one. I think he's shown that he's good, but I just think he's only as good as the guys around him. But when I actually watch him, he's got that it factor, that winning intangible that when I'm watching him out there, he just flat out balling. Just flat out balling.
And you got Joe Burrow. Yeah. You got Burrow, but one of the guys that I want to see who hasn't been in the game yet is Tua down in Miami. And with Miami, they stay competitive. But what it is that you're trying to win now, and you got a division that, hey, Jets are sorry. You can beat them at will. So can you move up and beat the Patriots? And if Cam is out with COVID, that gives you a bigger chance to beat Patriots. So I think if Tua gets in the game, he's got an opportunity because basically he'll come in and take over a distressed Miami team, and he can be the catalyst the same way he was the catalyst down in Alabama when he came in and won the national championship. So this is the quarterback that's not Joe Burrow, who didn't get a chance to start the year on the field as a starter, but this is a guy that can come off that bench in Miami and change the complexion of the AFC East rather. And I look for Tua in the second half of the season.
How you know? Hold on, how you know, Bob? How you know?
Because there was already some
Burrow. Go ahead.
There was rumbling about Fitzpatrick being replaced by Tua already, and they held out
But why
another
though,
week. So I
Bob?
just feel like Tua is just being
Right.
groomed to come in and shine. It's just one of those things.
Okay, Bob.
A catalyst.
You made a good point, and the thing I like is he's being groomed. And sometimes the guys who sit become better than the guy who actually playing right now, particularly if you're a rookie quarterback. So you're learning from a veteran. And now Tua definitely got the talent, and he will be a star in Miami at one point. But right now, Joe was forced in a situation where a team got rid of the quarterback. The Bengals were garbage, and all of a sudden you got a quarterback who the number one overall pick should be playing right now. And he's pro football ready. The way he played at LSU, they ran a pro offense. You look at the guy play; he's not out of place out there. He's comfortable. He looked just as comfortable to me, in the NFL as he did in college. So I think he's a good fit. We're not going to call him great yet. He got something he got to do. I mean, when you look at a guy like Eli Manning, I think if he go in there and put in the work, yes, he can be just as good as Eli if he put in the work and he stay healthy. But when we look down the road and compare young quarterbacks to the legends, there's a lot of football to be played, so they got to go out there and do it. But as far as Tua I'm concerned, man, I like the idea that he's sitting behind a veteran guy and learning. Look what Aaron Rodgers did with Brett Favre. You got to understand, there's some benefit come from watching veteran players, and I think they grooming him the right way.
And in that victory over the Jaguars, Joe Burrow became the first rookie to reach 300 passing yards in 3 consecutive games. So I'd say he's got a nice bit of momentum behind him now to where we can give him some safe kudos there. What about Eric Bieniemy going to the Falcons? Do we think that's a real possibility or something that we would even like to see? Bob?
I love it. I definitely love it. And it will be the first African-American coach in Atlanta. So I think that'll be a good move for the city.
I'm with you, Bob. I think it's been a good move for the city, not just because he's black, but I think it'd be a good move for the city for the talent that he possesses and his knowledge he brings to an offensive scheme. In this league, he done proved himself time and time again. But when you look at Atlanta, which is probably the first or the second African American fan base next to New Orleans, you would love to have an African American coach here. That'd be awesome, but he won't be here just because of his color. He'll be here because of his talent.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's well said. Chuck?
I totally agree on what they're saying. But you know what, though, guys? But if we do get Eric Bieniemy, is that going to mean we need to transition that quarterback? Because to me, he needs a certain kind of quarterback. Is that eventually? I like EB, though. I like Eric Bieniemy as a head coach. I like the creativity, and it's his time. I think it also it's a guy that's been overlooked, and I just think with Atlanta, with the offensive weapons they have, I think there could be a smooth transition offensively, even with Matt Ryan. But Eric Bieniemy, he's a winner, and he deserves an opportunity. But heck yeah, I'd love to have him here.
And I'm just going to go around the rooms, since we're all in our own separate homes right now, and just ask what storyline you're most excited about this week going into the next round of games. Bob, I'll start with you.
It was a game. Now it just flipped my mind. But it was a couple of games.
Mind?
But the biggest,
What?
yeah, because I had so many coming through this head, But I guess one of the key games, I'm just going to keep it home team, is NFC South, Falcons versus Carolina, and the emergence of Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Rule, head coach over there. I think they lost Christian McCaffrey early, but they found a way to play competitively and win some games. And I think Teddy Bridgewater is the youngest of all the quarterbacks in NFC South that's really trying to make a name against these old veteran QBs. So I think Atlanta got a tough matchup in Carolina, but it's a beatable team, and Atlanta should get their first win this weekend.
Jesse, what's got you on the edge of your seat right now in your rich mahogany background?
Hey, thank you very much, Nikki. Okay, I am looking forward to the second. I keep talking about quarters because you're breaking it a 16-game season into quarters, 4 games every month. And I think the second quarter of the season, I'm looking for better defensive play. Not just for the Falcons, but hopefully for the Falcons, but better defensive play around the league. I think the 4 preseason game, not playing those, hurt a lot. So it's time for the defense to catch up and stop letting all the quarterback break all the records. We 4 games into the season, and Dak had probably thrown for over 2,000 yards already. It's ridiculous. So they figure out somehow. Not only when I say defensively, I mean stopping the pass and the run, but mostly the pass defense. Catch up a little bit defense. Hopefully the defensive coordinators can get everybody on the same page. If you look around the league, there have been so many busted coverages. How many touchdowns have you seen this year when a guy was uncontested? I mean, it's unbelievable. And that's come from not because the coach is not telling players what to do. Everything need repetition. You got to catch up. You need more film study. So something like that's what I'm looking forward to. And hopefully we can cut down on some of the injuries because, no training camp, guys that come in ready to play. You got a lot of knee injuries, hamstring injuries, that type of stuff that the body got to be ready to go. And now we a month into it. So now let's play NFL football.
Chuck, is there anything? What? I think we covered it all.
No, we hadn't covered all. The rise of the OG quarterbacks, where everybody's talking about Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
But people don't realize, a lot of people aren't talking about Phillip Rivers. Has the Indianapolis Colts playing great ball. He's having as good a year as he's ever had. Another OG, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger. Look at his success, what he's doing. Cam Newton, before he went out with COVID and it didn't get to play, look at his development. And Aaron Rodgers, I mean, when you look at what he's doing. So these OG quarterbacks, they're making having big time performances, putting up big numbers. And it's just going to be interesting to see how, they continue to lead these teams and they're having success.
I absolutely love it. Bob White, I'll call on you.
What does OG actually mean? Does it mean old guard or original gangster? I'm never sure about what does OG mean.
I got the quick answer, Nikki. It stands for old guy. The old guy.
Old guy.
I like it.
Old guys doing new things. And of course, the conversation always continues online. Please come find us on social media. And by us, I mean go heckle them. We will see you all next week on Football's Play to Win.